So we're at the water today with our 2021 Beneteau Antares 7 to do a virtual sea trial. We're going to put it through its paces in the water and show you exactly how this boat performs with the Suzuki 150 horsepower 4-stroke fitted with a 3-blade, what is that, 19 pitch propeller, 3-blade 19 pitch prop. So we're going to get our float on the river and put her through the paces. So now afloat on the river, and just powered up all the instruments on the dash and things. Now, sitting at idle speed as we are now, you hardly even know that the engine is running. It's super quiet, and that's with the door open. If you close the door, you wouldn't have any idea whether it's going at all. As we showed on the slipway, throttle shift is lovely. Super light controls. That's us into forward gear, idle speed. We've got our, acknowledge that alarm. We've got our radio on. We've got our chart plotter on. We've got a split screen chart and fish finder depth sounder. So this is our depth of water, and this is our GPS speed. That's where we'll get our speed information whenever we're running on the plane. So we're just idling here at a couple of knots. We've got our multifunction gauge over here. There's a whole lot of different options on this. So this is sort of a generic one, you know, fairly general one, where you've got your engine RPM, fuel gauge, power trim gauge, so shows you the trim angle of the engine. If you trim the engine up, that goes up. Generally speaking, we'll keep this trimmed probably fully down, maybe trim it up a wee bit when it's running on the plane. This is your gear indicator, so you know you're in forward gear. If we go back to neutral, let's see, neutral, and if we go for reverse, it just shows you, again, because it is such a quiet engine, it's nice to have that indicator. You can see whenever you're shifting gear. And this is the temperature gauge, which is bang in the middle. Now, and we've got a paddle wheel speed indicator here as well, but the more accurate speed to use is going to be our GPS speed. So let's just go. I do want to look at fuel flow information. So if I scroll through, this is a big fuel flow number here. So this gives you a current fuel flow rate, which is useful. So at idle, we're just doing 1.2 litres per hour. We'll see as we get on the plane what that goes up to. It'll be useful to look at that info. So I'm gonna get the boat swung around, lined up. Steering and everything's nice and light. All hydraulic steering, no feedback. Throttle and shift is super smooth as well. You've got this little opening window here, so you can easily poke your head out if you want to. It's super windy, so I'm gonna keep that closed today. Oh, and one other thing actually I do want to try, just while we're turning the boat actually, is the bow thruster. So turn the bow thruster on. I think that's us on. And let's see. That's it, just hold the button and that's it turned on now. So we'll go to starboard, which is into the wind. She's going pretty good there, into the wind. And then we'll go the other way. Just takes a wee second to reverse the momentum. And there we go. So definitely a handy item to have when you're berthing the boat, particularly on a windier day. So there we go. That's us turned around, trimmed down. We'll give the boat a handful of throttle now and get it up on plane. Okay. That's us running here at 4,000 RPM, and we're doing 16 knots or so. Trimmed fully down. We're running into the current on the river, so let's swing around and see what we're doing going the other direction. That's us just over 4,000 RPM. We're burning 26 litres of fuel per hour, and we're running at 18.5 knots there, 18.6, almost 19 knots. Now that's with the current. So averaging those speeds out, it's about 17 knots or so, 17.5 maybe, at around 4,000 RPM, and that's 25 or 26 litres of fuel per hour. So this is going to be your sort of economical cruising speed. The boat tracks in a straight line, the throttle stays where you left it, so it is quite a comfortable boat. You get great visibility through the screen. You don't lose sight of the horizon whenever the boat's going on plane either. Then what we'll do is we'll just slowly come off the plane and bring her to a stop. One of the other things I always like to do in a sea trial, because we can't do it in the showroom for obvious reasons, is check that the toilet is pumping okay. Again, because this is a brand new boat, I don't expect there to be any problems at all, but flick the pump over. But some of the older boats, the wee seals can go. So you flick it to fill, give it a couple of pumps, toilet fills with water, flick it to empty, give it another couple of pumps, toilet empties. I always like to leave a wee tiny bit of water in the bottom of the toilet so the seals don't dry out. There we go, perfect. Okay, so yeah, comfortable cruising speed, around about 17.5, 18 knots at about 25 litres an hour fuel burn. Obviously, if you're trolling or just slow speeds cruising, you can run the boat at any sort of speed. You can run at this couple of knots, 2, 3 knots, 4 knots. Let's put it to like 2,500 RPM just to show you what that is like. So there's 2,000 RPM, 2,200 RPM, burning 7.5 litres of fuel per hour, doing 7 knots. So if you're in a harbour just cruising along, or you're on the inland waterways or something, this is going to be your normal cruising speed. Very little wash. Close that door, means nice and quiet. You can just tootle along at this speed, sit and watch the world go by. But we're going to put it on the plane again and do a full speed run. So we're trimmed fully down. I'm going to give it a handful of throttle and see what it'll do flat out. Full throttle. We're up and away. She's on the plane quickly. I'm going to trim the outboard up a little bit. Not much, just a wee bit. I'm going to see what she tops out at here. So that's us 5,500 RPM. We're burning 47 litres of fuel per hour, and we're doing 28.5, 28.7 knots. And remember, this is running into the current flow, so on the way back we should probably get over 30 knots. And it's running well. It's pretty quiet with the door closed. Definitely going good. Even chuck this boat about through the turns as well if you want to. Back over her wake. Let's do full throttle again, go in the other direction. That's us back up to 5,500 RPM. We're in 48 litres of fuel per hour this time, and we're doing just over 29 knots. Must be just right around high tide now, so we'll just slow her down. right around high tide, so the current's obviously slackened off. Bring her back to a stop gradually. It's probably not the sort of boat you're going to tear around in at full throttle all day long, but it's nice to know that whenever you do want to get home in a hurry, you can get up to decent speeds. You know, it's doing 28, 29 knots there at full throttle, and the fuel consumption is not even horrendous either. 45, 46 litres an hour, definitely not bad. At least 150 horsepower engines are very economical. But yeah, it's doing 28, 29 knots. It's about 33, 34 miles an hour thereabouts, top speed. Everything looks good on the dash, and cruising speed sort of 18, anywhere from like 18 to 20 knots is going to be your cruising speed, and you're going to burn about 25 to 28 to maybe 30 litres an hour at those speeds, which again is pretty economical. Let's just have another quick look at this instrument. So fuel flow information again. I want to just show you some other bits and bobs. So we've got fuel used, that's total fuel used since we've been running the boat, which is 3 litres, nothing. Probably been on the water for maybe 15 or 20 minutes, half an hour. But most of the time, and you do find that on boats actually, most of the time you're sort of tootling around, particularly if you're using them in harbours and big estuaries and things, you're not actually running on the plane for really long periods of time. That's the total hours, 17 hours. That's the trip hours, so you have 0.3 of an hour is what we've been on the water for. Battery voltage 14 volts, so that the alternator's charging okay. Engine temperature's still bang in the middle. Back to fuel flow, so I'll leave it set up on this one. This seems to be the most, sort of shows the most information on the one screen. So there you go. Don't really know why this little boy was showing up here. Need to look at the manual. It might be because it looks like a check engine light, but there's no beeps or alarms or anything. It's all run perfectly in temperatures and everything's fine. If it was something like oil pressure, it would tell you. But I think why it's there is because of the low key fob battery. I think that's why it's there. So we did acknowledge that low key fob battery message, and then that's just to remind you, you got to sort that out. So I'm pretty sure that's what it is. And you just check the manual. GPS all working perfectly. We've got our screen washers here. They're a wee bit, there they go. Screen washers are working. Windscreen wipers working on both sides. Nav lights and all are working. Bilge pumps working. Electronic switch. This is your fresh water pump and your deck wash. All that stuff's all working as well. And as we saw, the bow thruster's working. Radio, chart plotter, fully operational dash. So there you go, that's how this 2021 Beneteau Antares with the 150 Suzuki horsepower engine performs on the water. As I said, fitted with a 19 pitch prop, which gives a good overall performance. He's up on plane quickly. It definitely doesn't feel like it needs any more, a smaller pitch prop to get on plane quicker. Maybe if you were like running with 7 or 8 people on board, you might want to change the smaller pitch prop, but I think that 19 is a good all-rounder. She is getting up on plane quick. She's topping out at 28 to 29 knots, which is a good top speed, and she's cruising economically in and around 20 knots, burning 25 to 30 litres of fuel an hour, at top end about 47 litres an hour or something like that. Everything on her works, as you would expect on a boat that's going to only get 17 hours on the clock. Great visibility, nice supportive helm seat, nice and quiet whenever you get the back door closed, and a really nice spec example with all the toys that you'd want, and the bow thruster and all that sort of stuff. So if you're looking for one of these boats, this boat has now sold unfortunately, so you can't buy this one anymore. But if you are considering an Antares 7, do get in touch, let us know. We'll keep you posted if we get any other ones in stock, and even if not, then hopefully this video helps you if you're considering this model of boat. So thanks very much for taking the time to watch. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel, and I'll see you on our next boat tour. Thank you.